Hi, fabulous. Ali here, aka the Law of Attraction Lover. And in this episode, I'm going to tell you why what you see in front of you doesn't mean jack shit. In a second, I'm going to tell you one of the most important things I ever heard. But first, I want to say if you don't like what you are seeing in front of you, your life, your finances, your relationships, good. That means you are feeling out of alignment with your true potential, and your feelings are alerting you to this fact. What you truly align to will feel different from what I align to and the next person, but when we are aligned, we feel all the same sensations. Things like joy, happiness, bliss. What's bliss? That's bliss and peacefulness rolled into one. Calmness. Just stop and think about that. When you have felt calm, that's when you felt peaceful because you felt relaxed, you felt happy, you had no worries. We don't need to worry about anything in reality because everything is perfect, but we don't see that from our 3D vision. We see things in front of us and go, well, that's not what I want. I don't want the broken down car. I want the shiny new Mercedes. I don't want the small house with clutter. I want the big house with loads of storage space, etc. So good, because you were meant for the big house with all the storage space, not the tiny cramped house. You're meant for the big shiny car, not the small clapped out car. And the universe is saying, you're not living up to your full potential. So what we are currently seeing is a projection of previous thoughts, and it has absolutely nothing, I repeat, nothing with what it will be and can be projected in front of us tomorrow and next week or the next week or the next week. Unless you keep thinking the same things that got you where you are today. You can change what is projected into your 3D life right this minute, right this second, if you focus on something else, and then something else, and then something else more beneficial. So now I'm going to tell you my favourite piece of information I ever heard. And I want you to think about this and digest it. And when things look a bit shit, remember it again and again and again. Firstly, I will tell you that the originator of this was Abraham Hicks. I'm not going to go deep into who Abraham Hicks is or what it is, but I go through various periods of my life and I see that they're all relevant now. And I absorb lots of material from the same person and I get what I need out of it. And then I get attracted to or find somebody else and I get and immerse myself in their material. Sometimes I'm immersed in several people's material. Sometimes I'm not immersed at all. And sometimes I go back to people's material. But Abraham Hicks and Wayne Dyer are probably the people's material that I've spent most time and the longest times absorbed in. And the things that I've absorbed from them are profound. And I have a morning routine that I've used for well over a decade now. And part of my favourite, that routine and my favourite parts is to take in some personal development, usually via YouTube. And on this particular morning, I heard Abraham Hicks say something. Before I say it, I will just say we're all different, because if I inadvertently created this morning routine after starting a small gratitude practice, and then it turned into a 5-step framework. But I, hands up here, when circumstances changed or life threw me a curveball and I couldn't do the 5 steps, I might get a bit stressed because I was thinking that I wasn't going to manifest things. This is the old me. If I didn't, I was acting out of fear. If I didn't do these things, then I wouldn't manifest stuff. Now I know that I've got to pivot. And sometimes now the world has changed. I used to listen to YouTube on my phone through one earpiece on a string plugged into my phone. I used to pick the video, pop the phone in the car door so I wasn't watching it while I was driving, commuting to a job I hated. Now we have Bluetooth earbuds and headsets and things. Now we can get YouTube on our telly, and that's quite often what I do. If I'm getting dressed or putting my fake face on, my makeup, I put YouTube on the telly. If I'm downstairs preparing something, or even I've maybe not necessarily in the morning, I put it on my telly and listen to something beneficial while preparing a meal or doing some housework. I've even yesterday morning, actually, I think I was writing this. I'd listened to something, writing the notes for this podcast, because it was all downloading, as I call it, divinely downloading, comes through me, not from me. And I was listening to Louise Hay, and that's really going back to the beginning of me uh, doing my morning routine and personal development. I used to listen to Louise Hay's affirmations over and over and over again as I was driving and get myself geared up, like I said, to go into those jobs you don't like. I think it'd be more beneficial to listen to something or on the way into a job you dislike than just listening to music. But now it could be just listening to an audiobook with an earbud in while I'm doing stuff. It can be anything you want, but personal development is part of my morning routine. Yeah, so I was listening to Louise Hay, started getting to the ideas for this podcast, which is also going to be a blog post, and I'm recording it and I will upload it as MP4, and it will record on Spotify for podcasters, and then I can convert it and turn it into a YouTube um, video and put it on my YouTube channel, podcast channel. These are the things that I'm learning. I don't know where I was going off on that tangent, but yeah, it started to download for me. I started typing some notes on it of what I wanted to say. I knew I wouldn't get the opportunity yesterday, but the Louise Hay ended, and then 888 frequency came up, megahertz, in the background, and it was perfect. It was just peaceful. It was beautiful. Yeah, I've gone off on a complete tangent now. So I will get round to telling you this incredible piece of information. And I remember, just digest it, think about it. And it is, don't get tripped up today by yesterday's vibration. So when I heard that, I pressed pause and I rewound and I listened to it again and I listened to it again and I listened to it over and over again. Something sort of struck me. I listened to all this material, but don't get tripped up today by yesterday's vibration. Now, I had a coach at the time, and I seen them as, this ultimate guru, all singing, all dancing, all knowing. And I just thought it was a little, it was just a piece of information that resonated with me. And for some reason, I said it to them when we were talking on a coaching call. And even they went, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I love that." And then I heard them talk about it on a live. Like, they didn't mention me, but it struck them that much that they were telling people in their audience on their lives on Facebook about this piece of information. And when I said you can change your life in a second, you can change it right now, you can, you already have done by thinking differently. But it still looks like the same old shit outside through your eyes in a 3D because you're projecting what you see. At the moment, I'm sat on my bed because I've got to admit it's March in the UK and it's still a little bit chilly and we didn't have the central heating on today. So I thought, well, I'll put the central heating on. I'll stay cozied up in my bed. I'll go and grab my laptop and a cup of coffee. So I'm looking at my bedroom. I love my bedroom at the moment. It needs a little bit of sorting out with some clothes that we want to sort out, what we don't wear, and to store things away. But yeah, that is just, I'm projecting that. I'm looking at the TV on the wall, I'm looking at the door, I'm looking at the radiator, I'm looking at my dressing table, I'm looking at bottles of perfume and aftershave. Well, I'm not, no, I'm not even going to go there. Maybe I'll go there at a different time, but I'm listening to this audiobook at the moment, and I'm talking of cars. Mine went in for an MOT yesterday, as we have in England. I don't know if you're in the US listening to this, if you have MOTs, but you've got to insure and MOT your car. And so obviously it was at the garage. I got a phone call that it was all ready to pick up. I already knew it was going to pass the MOT. It has done for the last 3 years, 4 years. I love my little car. We used to have a Mercedes. We don't have a Mercedes at the moment. We're in we've got, yeah, I'll really go off on a tangent today. We have a split screen camper van that we've had for nearly 2 years now. It's 1962. 19 look, not necessarily 1962 inside. It's got a rock and roll bed. I say he because his name's Ron. It's got a lovely modern kitchen area and talking storage, beautiful bench seat at the front, but it's got little downlights in it, like I'm looking in my ceiling at the moment. Yeah, so he's very sexy, our Ron. And yeah, we had this gorgeous Mercedes that we never drove, and it was so technical that every time, even if we didn't drive it for 2 weeks, the battery was flat. So we had to buy this very expensive kind of unit to jump it every time we wanted to go into it. And then my partner seen a project for a 1954 very rare oval beetle project reconstruction. And so we've sold the Mercedes and put the money into what I call Veronica, because Ron is named after Ron Burgundy from the film The Anchorman. So where we spent 18 months going around looking for the perfect bus, I might have shared this story and I didn't intend to share it in talking of what you see. Doesn't mean jack shit. We were driving around all over the country, most weekends, sometimes during the week. A bus would come up. It was in my partner's budget that he'd allocated for himself for his perfect bus. It was a dream he'd had since he was a child. Well, his first car was a Beetle, but he always wanted a split screen. And then a few years ago, he was like, right, I've had enough now. I've worked hard enough. I deserve my bus. So we went on this journey to find the perfect bus. And we were walking away from one. We travelled 3 hours, I think it was, to see it. And when we got there, it was way over its budget. It wasn't worth what this person was charging for. A lot of people, they've put their buses up for sale, but they're very emotionally attached to them. And then when you get there, they act very weird because you can tell they don't really want to sell them. And you get weird scenarios, weird stories. We've sort of found ourselves in the middle of a bit of a domestic. We didn't see the wife, but we got told the wife was angry and wasn't coming out because she didn't want to sell the bus. And then they let us hang around it and have a look. When there was obviously some kind of domestic going on inside the house. It had a massive dent in the side, which he didn't bother to show in the photos. And he seemed very blasé about that. And there was lots of bubbles where rust was coming through. Yeah, fine. £20,000 cheaper, maybe. It might be something to look at. We wanted something that we didn't want to renovate. But then my partner felt a bit like exasperated. He'd got to the end of his buses that he'd seen to look at, and I could tell by his body language he was very demoralised and didn't think it was going to ever happen. And I just got this feeling in my stomach, more in my heart, and I don't know why. I just articulated, I know that you're perfect. There's, yeah, before I quickly say what I said, he wanted a certain type of bus. They have, some of them have, they have different windows. Some are called Samba. They've got windows in the roof if you're not aware of them. Um, some are rarer than the others, so they're more of an asset as well, and an investment. If it has a smaller back window, it's rarer. If it's a split screen rather than a bay fronted window, because they're later models, it's even more rarer. He wanted a right-hand drive. He was told not a left-hand drive because you can convert them from left to right, but that's expensive and they don't work right. And he had all these things. We like the idea of a rock and roll bed. We like the idea of we possibly using it as a business thing for weddings. We've had far too much fun with Ron. We haven't done that yet. But I'm all about not trading time for money, and I see that as trading time for money and making you landlocked and time bound. But I have other ideas for Ron and that aren't like that. And as we walked away from this lovely house down a drive, and he looked thoroughly demoralised, and he felt, well, that's it. And he was giving up hope. I said, I felt, and it came through me, and I said, I think your perfect bus is out there. Don't give up. And he looked at me and he said, do you? And I said, yeah, I 100% do, because I felt it in my soul, in my being, from my 5D reality, that the perfect bus was out there. This was about 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. And he said, well, there's one more I'd like to look at. And I was like, yeah, like what? But it was the tone in his voice. And he went, but, and I was like, yeah. He said, but it's in the Isle of Wight. So if you know the UK, we live in the southwest, but Isle of Wight is just a little tiny rock, a little tiny island, very beautiful, just off the coast off the bottom of the UK, and you have to get there by ferry. And he said it like it was some big drama, like, fly into the States to look at a bus. And he went, yeah, it's on the Isle of Wight. And I went, yeah, let's do it. And he went, really? And he perked up. And I went, yeah. He went, oh, okay then. He said, I'll contact them. And we went to see, so we worked out logistically how we were going to get there. And it was cheaper to be a foot passenger. It's really expensive to take a car over, and it just didn't seem necessary. So we drove down, worked out the ferry times, went over as foot passengers. This was April 2 years ago, so nearly 2 years ago. And I layered up because I say it's by the sea in the UK, because there was no way I could just pop back in the car and get a coat. And we spent a beautiful day it was a little bit chilly by the end of the day because the goalposts had moved. We actually went and see another bus in the morning that had come up on the Wednesday before we went, and that was very weird as well. And the guy was grossly, he put it up for a price that was in the budget, and sneakily, because he's had quite a lot of interest, added a lot of money onto it while we were there and didn't tell us until we were there. And I just thought that left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I just thought that was a bit sneaky. And we left, and it was a good bus. And we left there and got the ferry over. And yeah, so he wanted us to see the bus at 8:30 in the morning before we went to work. The other guy couldn't meet us until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had to drive quite a long way to be there at 8:30 in the morning, and then we had to hang out for the day until we could see the other guy because we'd already agreed to do this foot passenger thing. So yeah, we left our car and went over to the Isle of Wight and seen Ron. And I thought that was the so my partner said somewhere along the line, if I find my perfect bus, can I call him Ron after Ron Burgundy from the Anchorman? Very bizarre. I didn't expect to tell you this. And I said, yeah, of course you can. And he's actually, half of him is blue and half of him is cream, so he's Ron Blue instead of Ron Burgundy. And then another project came up for this Beetle. It's currently still being restored. We was hoping it was going to be finished by this weekend, because this weekend I'm recording this is Volksworld at Sandown Racecourse, which we'll be travelling to later. We were going to stay the whole weekend, but because Veronica's not finished, we're just going to go for the day tomorrow, stay in the hotel overnight. Yeah, I'm currently laying in my bed warming up the house a little bit before I jump in the shower and pack for that. But yeah, I've gone on a complete tangent. So, but it hasn't really. Maybe I was meant to say this. So in front of us, it looked like we could not find his perfect bus. But what we were seeing projecting in front of us meant jack shit, because the fact that he wanted that perfect bus meant the perfect bus was already out there. So that's what I'm trying to say. And we've got so much more than we anticipated with Ron. And the lifestyle that comes with him and everything is amazing, and the friends that we have made. But because I stayed aligned and had faith, even though I couldn't see it in 3D reality, I knew Ron was out there. I felt it 5D. I felt it in my soul. And so yeah, I've got to find my notes now and get myself back on track. But yes, so don't get tripped up by yesterday's vibration. Like I said, I pressed pause, something, it felt it in my soul. I listened to it again and again and again. And then I did what I usually do, is I wrote it down and I journaled it. Because if something's like that, I don't want to lose it, because I know it will stick with me. But if I don't write it down, I will lose it. And I think I must have been thinking at the time that what I had in front of me wasn't exactly what I wanted. Maybe my faith wasn't as aligned and strong as it should have been. And it was like a message going, don't get tripped up about what you thought before, because all you're seeing in front of you is previous thinking. The thinking that you've had of what you really want to align to and you want to manifest is already done. It just hasn't showed up yet. So like I said, I pressed pause and I journaled on it so I didn't lose it. And another amazing piece of information I got was that everything is energy. The chair that we sit on, the house we sleep in, even us, is all energy vibrating at different speeds. And the slower the frequency, the more solid it appears. But it's still energy balls vibrating. Nothing we see is solid, including us. So now you may have heard about this as the law of attraction, but in reality, so you may have heard of the terms that everything is energy, everything is vibrating, nothing is solid. What we have a frequency, our thoughts are a frequency, what we put out, we attract back, the law of resonance. And I'm saying this because people think that the law of attraction doesn't work. In reality, it's called quantum physics. And I think more and more people have heard the term quantum physics these days, even if they don't know what quantum physics is. They are one of the same, but it's a scientific law. It's reality. So what has this got to do with anything, you may be asking? What we are seeing in front of us today is the result, I touched on just now, of our previous thinking, collapsing particles of energy into a so-called physical solid form. They are the results of yesterday's or the day before's vibrational thoughts going out into the atmosphere and projecting back images of our own mind into physical 3D reality. Remember that thing that I was talking about? We're projecting. Like a movie theatre, there's, this projector up in a room projecting things onto a screen. That's what our eyes are doing. Our brain is projecting an image, what we're seeing. And if you have heard about the law of attraction or quantum physics or any kind of positive thinking, and you believe you've been focusing on what more productive thoughts, and you still see shit in front of you, you may be inclined to think that this shit doesn't work. Or what's the point? That's getting tripped up by yesterday's vibration. What you are seeing is the results of some previous thinking. I'll emphasize that word again, previous. Think about that. Where you're sat listening to this now, you're probably listening to it for a reason. The universe has brought you to this information for a reason. But what you're sitting in right now, what you're seeing projecting, is the result of previous thinking. There's a delay. So if you are not sitting in what you have been focusing on positively yet, it's around the corner coming if you just keep thinking and focusing on it. It's not the results of any productive thinking yet. They just haven't shown up yet. But if you get tripped up by something that makes you feel uncomfortable and focus on that, you are going to manifest more of the shit you don't want and less of those things that you do want. I hope you're grasping what I'm saying. So if any of you listening to this now, the person that is actually listening to these words and not feeling comfortable with what you're seeing in front of you, this is just a manifestation of something that you've thought 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, just showing up now. But if you have thought something productive and taken responsibility for your thoughts after that period, if you keep focusing on those thoughts, it's going to show up. So don't get tripped up today by what you thought that's showing up today from something that you previously thought. So I'll repeat this title of this podcast again. If you don't like what you are seeing today, what you are seeing today doesn't mean jack shit in the grand scheme of things. As long as you keep focusing on the things you do want and give thanks for them already being yours, as if they were already here. I touched on this earlier, so there was a point I went off onto a tangent about Rom. because in reality, they already are. Ask and it is given. Before you even ask, what you ask for is already given to you. You may recognize these phrases as part of the Bible. And while I'm not religious in any circumstance as conformist religion, I am a believer that there is something far greater than my physical eyes can perceive, because I've seen so much evidence to believe it, that it is so, in the forms of miracles and manifestations in my own life, in ways that I could have never fathomed in my 3D physical perspective, like the outcome of how Ron came about, that it was better than we expected. Like I said, we were considering something that could be used for weddings and that as a business. And I mentioned that to Chris, the owner, when we met him, and he went, "Oh yeah, we've done all that. Yeah, but and we've got a website and social media. You can have that." So I anticipated finding something that was suitable for weddings, and my partner did as well. And he knows that I love doing all the social media. So I thought about building social media pages and websites and doing all the research. And they went, it was easy and effortless. On top, as while we were looking for the perfect bus, and that was something that I thought I'd have to do on top of it, they were like, "Oh, we've already done that. There you go. Have it. It's a gift." I said, "We haven't really done it, but it's still there." I didn't anticipate that. I didn't anticipate the lifestyle and the friendships that we made from it, and the amazing weekends and the fun and that from it. So that's what I mean. I cannot have even fathomed in my 3D reality what has manifested from me by staying focused on things. But then I've started to correlate that if I let go and trust and have faith, it always works out easier and effortlessly than I could have managed. And it always works out 10 times, if not 100 times better than I could have managed. What comes from my letting go and trusting and not trying to control the outcome makes it all better. So going back to what is already yours, if you are focused on a more positive physical reality and you feel you are not seeing it yet, it is purely because the vibration is not collapsed into a physical form and is still vibrating in its non-physical 5D form, while the circumstances and the synchronicities to make it manifest are still falling into place. And how do you get to have it in a physical reality? Is by what I've just said, faith. By having faith and holding the faith in the yet unseen, and not getting tripped up by anything less than favourable currently showing into your physical form, or as we call it. So don't get tripped up by anything that is less favourable than what you have and what you want. Just keep focusing on having faith that it's all coming together, the right circumstances, the right time, the right places, the right people. All those other buses weren't right because we had to meet the owners of Ron, because Ron was the perfect bus. They all had to be wrong in some way, so that got us to the end point to get to the bus that was meant to be ours. Even when we couldn't see him, he was there, sitting in the Isle of Wight, and we were going to be the owners of him. It was already done. Once my partner decided he wanted, it was time to get his dream of a split screen camper, immediately Ron was going to be our bus. We just couldn't see it at that point. And all those uncomfortable circumstances, and it's been a bit like that with Veronica. And I didn't elaborate, but Veronica Cornerstone is the female protagonist in Anchorman, so it just seems logical to have Ron and Veronica. The journey we've been on with Veronica has been a painful one. But there's a company in the UK, like they're the best of the best of the best of the renovators. And my partner thought, again, he had a budget. He didn't want to go stupid because this is an asset as well. And that these people, he'd already surmised that these people were out of his price zone. And we'd been on a long, agonizing journey, as it seemed, to find somebody to restore Veronica. We thought we had someone, but that person wasn't entirely ethical. And they did us a favour by not wanting to continue the project, and we were trying to find other people, and they kept messing us about and let us down. And exasperated, my partner thought, "Oh, what the heck," and he reached out to this company, and he had an amazing chat with the person, the owner and the son, and he said, "People always think that because our quality of work is so good, they always think that they can't afford us, and it's in the budget." But yeah, we thought that Veronica was going to be at Volksworld, but he said that he was getting a little bit stressed that he felt like he was rushing and he didn't want to rush the quality. He wanted the quality to be the same as the standard he's been working on. We were like, yeah, that's fair enough. So we don't need to go for a weekend. We just want to go around and look at all the buses and all the cars and have a lovely day and chill out and trust. But we had to go on to my partner, a painful set of circumstances. And I've just seen some things come up on my screen. So I'm just going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Reality. Yeah, talking about reality, I'm always trying to encourage people that at any age in life that you can do this stuff like I'm doing. You can turn your passion into your business. And yesterday I was on a live, and I can't think of the terminology now. So I'm incorporated. I love Regan Hillier. She talks about people being conscious millionaires and conscious billionaires. And I love the way she aligns with things, not hustle and grind. And she feels right for someone to me align. So I'm in her circle, and there was so once a month there's a live activation. And she had some technical issues, and all of a sudden yesterday the sound went out while I was. So she records it, and then she edits it, and it goes into like her membership site, sort of club, her website, for a month, this live activation. And last night it was about your activating your purpose from a 5D reality. And she had some technical issues and the sound went off. So I know she will edit all of that out. So I decided to come out of it. It was beautiful. And I know that I've experienced something. But she is a multi millionaire. She has started with a vision, and she is now on covers of magazines. Um, the most famous magazines. Her life is growing exponentially. But her first story, is that she got herself into over $100,000 in debt with personal development. And she's the one that's motivated me, saying it's an 80% inner game and 20% outer game. And that's what I'm focusing on. I wasn't doing enough of the inner game. And yeah, so where I'm going with this, I've just had my phone come off of Do Not Disturb, and some alerts have come on the screen. I just had a little bit of windy pops, but come up. But I'm not gonna stop this recording now just for that, because that's what I would have done. I talk about start now and improve along the way. A lot of people have got the same sort of ethos, and start now, get perfect later. Things like, we're not going for perfection, we're going for progress. But now I don't care. In the beginning, I used to stop and edit and stop and edit. If I fluffed, I stop and edit. In the Law of Attraction Lovers Club, I've got a thing called Forget the Fluffs, because I know what it's like. People procrastinate. They think it's got to be perfect and they never do anything. Now I just record it. And if I go off on a tangent and bring in some other information, I feel like I'm downloading that. That is absolutely fine. I didn't believe when I did my notes yesterday I was going to talk about wrong, but it all seems right and it aligns. And I've seen now, if very successful multimillionaires, the money doesn't mean anything, but people do look at the money and think, if somebody's a multimillionaire, they've got to be pretty successful at it, and they respect them. So then they think that they don't do anything wrong, and that they've got loads of confidence, and nothing ever goes wrong for them. It's easy for them. It's different for them. I can't do it, but they can do it. They all started imperfect and didn't, and still don't be perfect. She had no control over that last night. The something to do with the Zoom leak, the sound just dropped out. She came to the front of the screen, she talked to the team, there was a big gap. She tried to sort it out. She didn't fluster, she stayed calm. But I just want to say, it happens to everybody. So yeah, I've just had those. I know that those two little notifications that come up on my screen now. I could have paused, I could have edited them out. I'm not. I'm going back to where I was. But I just thought that maybe happened for a reason. To encourage people to get started doing what they love. And as you go along, you get more confident and you don't care about the fluffs. So maybe check out the Law of Attraction Lovers Club. That's LOALOVER.club. There is a 7-day free trial if you're not aware of it. And you can go and check out the video when I talk about in one of the modules, forget about the fluffs. Look at the other stuff that's in there, and I've designed it to help people especially people over 40, because I've had so many people come to me over 40 saying they loved what I did when I had a physical brick and mortar business, and telling me that they were too old and they couldn't do it and they didn't have any talent, when usually they were younger than me. So that is my purpose. But not only is it my purpose now to encourage people to utilize the social media and what we got in front of us, but I see more and more people working over retirement age because they haven't made enough money to retire. And I want them to be able to travel, get up when they want, not have to work, not have to worry about money. So now my purpose is encouraging people to see how you can make multiple streams of income, start now and improve along the way, and create income streams that when you go into retirement, you can do what you want and enjoy it. But actually, in reality, entrepreneurs don't retire anyway. But I'm talking from, an employee stance of a job and coming to retirement age and feeling then you've got to go out and get a different job or carry on working because you can't afford, because your pension's not enough or you haven't got a pension. I'm really passionate now about getting people to start using this digital age that we live in, regardless of your level. I'm here creating a creator hub in the Law of Attraction Lovers club with other things. I had two ideas downloaded to me yesterday as I was walking to get my little car. Yeah, like I said, love my car. She's not flashy or anything. Talk about, I'm quite happy with my car. Because I can park her anywhere. I don't have to worry about it. We've had the big flashy cars and we've got the van, and now we've got Veronica coming and we're going to enjoy that. Um, and if I want a big flashy car, I can get one, but I love my little car. But I downloaded two little ideas to go into Law of Attraction Lovers Club as I was walking yesterday, and I'm very excited about that. But I better get back to my notes. You can hear me moving them about. I've got them on my iPad. And I've completely lost my train of thought. So what I was going to say is, what I was thinking about and what I desire is just, it's when it's like with Ron, it's not just shown up yet. And use this as a reminder to focus on your thoughts, on your more desirable thoughts. So use that phrase and just think about when you see something, don't worry about it. Just know that you've already had more desirable thoughts, and get you back on track to thinking more desirable thoughts, to eliminate the shitty thoughts showing up at a later date or keep showing up. Just, it could be the same desirable thoughts of something you wanted to focus on, that you do want a nice car or a reliable car or a bigger house, things like that. Or just let your mind go and think about other positive thoughts as well that you want to manifest. Like, just get your thoughts off of the shitty thoughts and get them onto somewhere you want to travel to, something you want to experience, something you want to buy, somewhere you want to live. Just think of more positive thoughts, because they will show up when you least expect them. It's like I said, so regardless, they aren't just what they have to be, more desired, or more desired outcomes that you want to cause to collapse into 3D reality. And I have a suggestion or a tip for you. I mentioned it slightly. Sorry, that was just an unusual noise then. It just made me pause. I mentioned it slightly above. Keep a journal, or earlier, not above, earlier, when I was looking at my notes. Keep a journal, either physical or digital, but I recommend physical. It is scientifically proven that what we desire, what we write down with the hand digests more into the brain. So write down the things. I've got some weird stuff going on there at the moment. So write down the things you just. I keep hearing a noise like someone's knocking on the door or someone's trying to come in. So write down the things you desire and date it, and then log and journal on any physical signs that align with those desires, and especially date the time they physically show up in your reality. Then you will start to see the timeline between inspiration, desire, and manifestation. And this will encourage you to focus more on what you desire and less on what you don't desire, because you will be actually seeing physical, actual manifestations of the power of your thoughts. and that will excite you. If you keep a journal, that will encourage your faith even more. When you think of something you desire, you write it down in a journal on it, and then in a couple of weeks' time, sometimes I have instant manifestations for information, or it can be 24 hours, it can be a week, sometimes it can take years. But if you journal it, write it down, and then you see it come, or you start to see signs, like you start to see, I know people talk about the reticular activating system, but forget all of that. If you desire a certain type of car and you see it, journal it. That's a sign from the universe that your message has been received. But one caveat to this, while I encourage dating your journal entries for references, please don't get hung up on deadlines. The universe knows the divine way and a divine time to make things show up for you. Putting deadlines on things and not seeing evidence as the physical days tick by can create doubt and fear. And doubt and fear are the crucial components in killing off manifestations. This is why most people don't see their desires turn up and then tell other people that the law of attraction doesn't work. It was simply doubt and fear that killed the vibe and attracted the lack of the thing, because that's what they were focusing on. That's what you may have been focused on. That's what I've done in the past. I am living, breathing evidence of this, of creating deadlines, and then get hung up on the deadline and notice the lack of something instead of focusing on the belief and having faith that it will show up. And then I realise now, so this is why I do these podcasts, create modules in the Law of Attraction Lovers Club, because I've experienced it and I don't want other people to find out the hard way. I want them to find out the easy way, hear it from me and avoid doing it, because I've been there and done it. And now I don't, I do love Napoleon Hill, but Napoleon Hill states in his book, Think and Grow Rich, to do this. You decide what you want, how you're going to get it, how you're going to serve people, and on what date. And if maybe say if it was a financial figure, how much. It's worked for people. It works for people because they had faith in it. They believed that Napoleon Hill said, if that's what they do, it'll work. It was a faith that made it work. But then there's probably millions of other people that have done that and read that book and it didn't, like me, because they thought about the lack of it. They noticed, oh, well, I've only got 2 days left on my deadline and nothing's shown up yet. So nothing's going to show up because I'm focusing on the lack of it not showing up instead of it showing up. And the minute that I let go of that deadline and thought the deadline's passed and I didn't manifest it, the universe conspired in an absolute incredible way to make it happen for me effortlessly, because I'd taken the pressure off. I'd stopped killing that vibe, because there was no vibe, because I thought it wasn't going to happen, and I allowed it to come through the path of least resistance, is what Abraham Hicks calls it. Know that time is a human invention, and in reality, it's not real. Einstein says this: we created reality time to make our lives more convenient. But in the real reality, there is the only eternal moment of now. Remember what I said. What we desire is already done. It is already yours. Just show gratitude for what you already have and what is about to be yours in the premise we call solid physical reality, which was a bit interesting because I got the idea for this. I didn't plan it yesterday morning. I wrote the notes for it. And then about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to collect my car, like I said, and I was listening to an audiobook. And that audiobook said more or less exactly the same thing. I hadn't listened to that section of the audiobook. I just knew that asking it is given. Even before we ask it, it's already done. And then the book said the same kind of thing, that all the potentials of anything we want or anybody wants to create is already done, because it's the only eternal moment of now. So how can you not have it if it was already given to you the second? Because there is only now. I will go back. I'm going to go back and listen to that book again, because it articulated it in a so much better way than I can. But hopefully you get the grasp of it. Why do we ever doubt that what we want cannot be ours? Because there is only now and it's already done. We just literally have to hold the faith and trust that it will come to us in the perfect time and focus on that. So that's why it's perfect, because this is all about what we see in front of you doesn't mean jack shit. Because if it's not looking like what you want, then just know it's already yours. It cannot not be, because you have had that thought. You just got to keep focusing on it to help, and just trust and wait for the perfect circumstances. So I've talked about it, so I didn't tend to touch on it because it was already in my notes. But in my membership club, the Law of Attraction Lovers Club, I have some of my favourite tools that I've mentioned. I've talked about forgetting about the fluffs, but that was something else. But I've got other tools in there, which are cool milk in the twigs. I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. Oh, like scripting is one of my favourite. You may have already heard of scripting, but I've got a module in there about scripting. So that's what I use. I've script, and then I start to see the signs, and then I journal on the signs, and then it manifests. And then I look at, and then I journal that it's manifested and how it's manifested. And then in my journal, I've got the whole timeline of when I first had an idea, when I first journaled it, when I milked the twigs, as Florence Scovel Shinn talks about, and when I see the signs and I get excited, because that's an excited vibe is more of a manifesting vibe. So if I start to see signs and say, want a certain car, and then I see the car, I smile and I go, that's a twig. I mean, this is me just touching on it, but I would highly recommend that you take advantage of the free trial. And it's LOALOVER.club, but I'll put the link in the show notes, and have a look around there to to utilize those tools to help you manifest what you want to manifest. And talk, and like I said, there's a free trial. And talking free, you can also get access to my morning routine that I mentioned earlier, that I inadvertently created by accident, but it caused me to start waking up happy. So you can get that, of course, mywakeuphappy.com. And that is yours forever. So just remember, what you see in front of you today doesn't mean jack shit unless you get tripped up by it. There's always more to desire and more to manifest, whatever your current reality looks like, even if it doesn't look like a fabulousness. It's okay to just, and yeah, and even if it is fabulous and you feel quite happy in your fabulousness, it's okay to desire more. But before I end this with this, I will say, taking responsibility of your thoughts is the most empowering tool you have. So don't avoid it. Don't avoid taking responsibility for your life and your thoughts. Embrace it. And on that note, I'll leave it there. But always remember, you are more amazing than you can ever realize from a physical reality. And all the power is within you. And because it's within you, that's why you project it out. You take control, take responsibility of what you want to project out. So on that note, have a fabulous day, week, month, year, and life. Over and out for now, until next time, because this went off on a way tangent and went way longer than I expected. And just know that you are loved beyond belief, because you are. From a higher perspective, a 5D reality, everything is perfect and we are all perfect. So there is nothing to dislike about ourselves. We are loved beyond belief. So, and you are brilliant beyond belief, and there is nothing to fear. So let go and trust. And that's for me. I'm going to end it now from Ali, aka the Law of Attraction Lover. And if this is the first time that you've come across me, why not listen to some of the other episodes, or subscribe, or go on to YouTube if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and go to the YouTube channel and subscribe there so you get alerts when I do another podcast. Have a little bit of a binge if you like this. Tell your friends about it if it's resonated with you. Listen to it again if you need to, if you're starting to focus on the shit, because remember, it doesn't mean jack shit. And why not check out the Law of Attraction Lovers Club and see if there's anything in there that resonates to you. Like I said, so have a fabulous day, week, month, and most of all, life.